Hi, I'm Bit-Sized Gamer and welcome to my top tips for creating your custom IMP Merc in Jagged Alliance 3. First, let's talk about how to get into IMP in the first place so that you can create your own custom Merc for $6,999. Here's a great representation of what the web looked like in the late 90s and early 2000s. With links, a little visitors counter, and an RSS feed. So we'll just go ahead and hit enter for OK. I've seen some YouTubers type XEP624 here in the password section. That was the password in Jagged Alliance 2 when it came out in the early 2000s. But now the password is actually XEP625, but you don't actually even need to type that in. It's already been typed in for you, so all you have to do is hit enter. Okay, and you're in. So we'll go ahead and skip the wonderful test and select manually. Taking the PTET is perhaps entertaining the first time, but it really doesn't make any difference for your actual IMP Mercs stats and attributes. So we'll hit next. Since we are just trying to learn more about each attribute and how we should create the IMP Merc, I'm not going to talk about name and nickname. For health, this just determines how many HP you have and how much damage you can take in combat. Agility affects the total amount of action points you have in combat, the free movement that you get at the start of each turn, and how stealthy your Merc is. Dexterity basically affects your ability to aim and obtain a stealth kill. Strength affects really the amount of slots that you will have in your personal inventory, and it does affect the throwing range of your grenades and knives, and it also affects how much, I think it actually affects how much damage you do, or perhaps whether or not you can hit with a melee attack. But I actually haven't tested that yet. Leadership measures charm, respect, and presence according to this tooltip. It affects the rate of training militia and other mercs, and it affects the chance for getting positive and negative morale events. We're going to talk about leadership in a little bit. Wisdom affects the amount of speed or speed in which your Merc will learn attributes or skills. This one, I do not know if there's actually a way to increase the wisdom skill or wisdom attribute. So this is one that I think you will want to have a very high, and I would actually recommend that you raise this all the way up to 85. Marksmanship affects, also wisdom affects whether or not you spot certain hidden items like medicine, what are they called? Medical plants? Medicine plants? Or medical herbs that you can convert to medicines. Marksmanship just affects how often you hit. It's pretty obvious. Mechanical, how quickly you fix things. Explosives, how you handle explosives and whether or not they blow up on you when you throw them, like grenades. Medical affects just your ability to heal wounded people, and also I don't know if it actually affects the amount of med kits when you actually heal in combat. I haven't tested that yet, but we're not going to talk about that. In terms of my overall recommendations for these attributes and skills, I would actually recommend going all 0 on these skills, because you can train your IMP Merc using some other cheap Mercs to raise these skills rather quickly from 0. These are, I think, a little harder to come by, these attributes up here. In general though, I do think that wisdom is very important, dexterity is very important, and agility are important. And of course marksmanship is also important. I think the two least important things here are health and strength, with strength being the very least important, and health is relatively important because you do want to stay alive. Now, let's talk about perks. So, I'll go ahead and just quickly make what would be my ideal Merc, IMP Merc. Basically, all 85s for everything but strength on these attributes. So let's talk about perks. You'll notice these personnel perks. There's Psycho, there's Negotiator, which reduces prices for sector operations and boat travel, and Scoundrel, which gives you a free first weapon swap. Now, all of those, the combat bonuses are sort of mediocre or non-existent for these three, but really what these personal perks are for is open up additional conversation options. And so when you create your IMP Merc, I highly recommend you look at who you are going to put on your first team, because only certain mercs have personal perks, or these personal perks. So to the extent that you have hired a mercenary that has one of these personal perks, you'll want to pick a personal perk that is complementary, meaning it actually no one in your merc team has this personal perk already. So for example, only a few of these beginner mercs have personal perks. Fox is a scoundrel. Livewire is also a scoundrel. Meltdown here is a psycho, and Buns is a negotiator. So if your team were to, for example, have Fox or Livewire who already have the scoundrel perk, then I would recommend taking either the negotiator perk or the psycho perk. Personally, I would probably take the negotiator perk. Now, if you took Meltdown and her psycho perk, then you should probably take negotiator or scoundrel. If you have Buns on your team, then you should consider psycho or scoundrel. So think about how your IMP mercs personal perks will complement the other mercs that you have on your team's personal perks. This will open up the most number of conversation options. Scoundrel will frequently give you a conversation option that will extort or allow you to extort more money from certain NPC characters. I haven't seen what Negotiator does, but I assume similarly it has certain beneficial conversation options for you. And the same with Psycho. I believe there is a recruitable NPC who, or at least maybe not recruitable NPC, but certain NPCs who look favorably upon Psycho characters, and so that just adds additional conversation options. Lastly, in terms of tactical perks, I don't have that much of a preference. Personally, I like Night Ops and Stealthy, and that comes from Jagged Alliance too. But honestly, build your merc the way you intend to use him or her. Whether or not it's using hand-to-hand combat with martial arts and hand-to-hand, or perhaps you prefer auto weapons, so you go with burst, something that gives you better accuracy for burst fire and full auto, or whether you like to just have dual pistols and use pistols here with CQC training, or heavy weapons. The choice is really yours, and I don't really think I don't have a really strong preference for any of these. Now, let's revisit leadership. The biggest effect and benefit for leadership, in my opinion, that is actually not even mentioned in the tooltips for leadership, is that leadership affects your squad speed on the strategic map. So for example, we have here two squads. One has Mouse, Kalina, and Livewire. And the second squad has just OG, my IMP Merc. As you can see, OG has a leadership of 85. Whereas the 3 Mercs here in Charlie squad have leadership of 10 for Mouse, 52 for Kalina, which actually isn't even that bad, and Livewire at 24. Now, if I were to take Charlie squad and have them go to I2,
the journey is done. I'm ready for the next quest.
let me try that again. You can see it will take 10 hours and 32 minutes to go from this sector I1 to this sector I2. Now, let's say I add OG back into the team. Charlie squad now has OG and his 85 leadership. I click on Charlie squad to go from I1 to I2 again. Oops, hold on. It's a little too fast. We'll stop travel.
Arrived at the location.
So we'll take Charlie squad, click on I2, and now the travel time is 5 hours and 46 minutes. Almost half. By adding OG to the team, you've cut the travel time in half almost. And doubling, or practically doubling, the speed on the strategic map is a huge force multiplier. A huge force multiplier. It means that you can do way more with your team with a high leadership Merc than without. You can travel the map faster, do more stuff. You can intercept. It will take less time to go and intercept weapon shipments. It'll take less time to go and intercept any sort of counterattack. It's just an incredible hidden benefit to leadership. It's not talked about in the tooltips, but it's incredible and amazing. So there you have it. These are my custom or top tips for creating your custom IMP Merc. Have fun and really enjoy the game. My name is Bitsize Gamer, and we will see you on the next one. If you like this content, please hit the like button, comment, or subscribe. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.